Hey there, Emmanuel here from Tech with Tourists, and in this video I want to share with you what I believe to be the most important prompting technique there is. Now, I know that this title and this idea behind this video is a little bit clickbaity, but stick with me because by the end of it you're going to know exactly how you can make the most out of your AI agents without having to worry about them making mistakes at all. So the idea that I want to share here with you and the prompting technique that I think that you should always use is to tell your AI agents to ask you questions about things. Now, in this case, the tool that I use to accomplish this is a Claude Code plugin, which is Superpowers by Obra. I'm going to leave also a link in the description down below. And this is a repository of different skills that you can use with Claude Code. If you're not familiar with skills, I'm going to also leave a link in the description down below to a podcast episode that I did where I go over this idea of skills and what they are. But in this video, we want to stick with this idea of brainstorming, which is the name that they give this here, or simply telling the AI agents to ask you questions. Now, why would we do that? The reality is that our code base and the tasks that we want to accomplish, the things that we want to implement, have a lot of different decisions that we need to make around them. And if we simply tell the AI agent to do something and we expect the AI agent to sort of figure out everything that's inside our mind, then that's going to be a very hard task for the AI agent to be able to accomplish, because it is impossible to read your mind, to read my mind, and it is not only impossible for a human to do that, but for the AI agent as well. So we cannot expect that from these tools, from these AI agents. So instead, what you need to do is you need to say, okay, I want to implement these features. These are more or less the ideas that I have around them. Now I want you to ask me questions. So if we go over this skill, the name is brainstorming. You must use this before any creative work. Creative meaning creating something that needs to have decisions built into it. So creating features, components, adding functionality, modifying behavior, and this explores user intent, requirements, and design before implementation. So this will tell Claude Code that we want to implement something, and we ask it to ask us questions so that we can go back and forth and see exactly what it is that we want to build. And a lot of times when I'm using this skill, it happens that I didn't even think of a detail that eventually I would encounter if I were to be coding this manually. So do I want this to look like this? Do I want something to be fetched on the client? Is it okay if it is fetched on the client, or do I want the server to fetch it and arrive as part of the HTML? These are just different kind of decisions that we need to make when we are building something. And since we only have this overall like big picture idea, we don't even think about these details, and then the AI implements them. We didn't ask it to ask us questions, and then we get frustrated because the AI did something that we don't want. Then we need to go back on the Git history. We need to either do that or modify the code manually, and it just leads to a lot of frustration. So this is why I say that this is the best prompting technique and the only one that you truly need when it comes to a quote-unquote prompting technique, because I think that with these more recent models, there's not anymore these kinds of silly tricks that we need to do in terms of prompting, like saying certain kinds of words to the model, or like even talking to the model in a certain kind of way, pressuring the model. All of those kinds of silly things I think are not useful anymore. I'm not even sure if they were in the first place. But if you think about prompting techniques, they basically mean we want to take the most out of these tools and be able to do our work. And I think this is the best way. So help turn ideas into fully formed designs and specs through natural collaboration, dialogue. Start by understanding the current project context, then ask questions, and then present the design in small sections. This is also a good thing because it basically tells Claude Code to separate things into different sections, which makes it easier for us to understand and to reason about. We read each one of the sections and we see, okay, this is what I agree with. I don't really agree with this part. I think that we could change things here and there. And then at the end, it essentially writes a design document. So write the validated design here. And it uses also different kinds of skills for the writing to be as good as possible. And then it commits the design. Then it asks if you are ready for the implementation. And here is where the writing plan skill comes in, which essentially is a detailed way of specifying what the steps are for implementing this specific thing. But if we really think about this in a sense that we take a lot of time front to go back and forth with the model, and then when we get to the part of the implementation plan and even the execution of the plan, we don't really need to think about anything that the model is doing at all. So in my case, I'm now even exploring different kinds of approaches with Rolf, which is a plugin by Claude Code. I'm also going to do a video about it soon. But usually when I do this kind of thing, so when I go through a brainstorming process and then go to the design or skip the design and go right to the implementation plan writing, I don't even need to concern myself with the fact that the model is doing something bad or wrong or implementing something that I don't want, because I've already taken the time to go back and forth with it. So I see that today my work is mostly just going back and forth with the model, as answering questions, asking the model questions, exploring the code base manually if I have to see things, to see exactly what I want to do, think about like the UI and the UX point of view of things, think how this would look like for the end user, and just go back and forth with the model. And then I decide things, I'm in control, I decide exactly how I want things to look, and I just tell the model can ask me questions about details that I didn't even think about, I can answer it, and then we arrive to a design and then the implementation plan. And like I said, usually I can leave Claude Code to work for, let's say, specific feature, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 20 minutes, doesn't really matter. And I don't think about the fact that it might be implementing something that I don't want. It might be implementing something that is outside of the scope, or is doing something in the way that I didn't intend the model to do, because I already had put this work previously in, and it makes my job much easier, and it leads to a lot less frustration when using these AI agents. So this is it, and I know again that this idea of it being a prompting technique is really a simplification of it, but it is really true, because this simple prompt, as you can see here, this is not a long prompt, this is a skill. It is something that the model itself invokes. So a skill is basically a prompt that the model calls upon itself, and it is not that long. And just with this idea of, okay, I want you to ask me questions, I want you to go over the answers that I give you, and then we go back and forth until we'll arrive at a design. This is just the best prompting technique that I've encountered so far. And ever since I started doing this, I haven't had any problems that I previously had with these AI agents. So I encourage you to also give it a try. Again, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below to this repo so that you can try it with either Claude Code. And I also think that they also have implementations now with OpenCode and Codex if you also wish to give it a try with those AI agents. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.